Alright, good morning everyone. Of course you know it's Friday. We gotta do the full scale thing. We gotta do what a personal reading would look like. Why? Well, because it covers an entire weekend. So, a couple things I wanted to talk about while I'm laying out the cards here. Some of you know that I get these little itches to talk about different things sometimes, and sometimes I don't. I wanted to start with what happened with CloutHub yesterday. Apparently, CloutHub put my entire video under a 2-second review for safety and has refused to answer any of my questions as to what that was about. I have a theory that maybe it was this. I could be wrong, and CloutHub is more than welcome to let me know. And if it was this particular mug for none other than speakyourmindhere.com, yikes, ouch, that hurt. If it was this mug, well then, or maybe one of the little, things I've got going on the screen here, the places I tend to hang out, which High-Fiving is down right now. We're not sure when it's going to come back up, but I'm keeping it here because I'm keeping the visibility on it. The last time it took a while for High-Fiving to come back, it came back, but we didn't have nearly the people that we had. We just had the really, really hardcore, loyal few. And that's okay, but we'd have loved to have had everybody back. The entire database somehow got purged. Don't know what happened. Johnny Shades over at the Oddfathers podcast can tell you a little better than I could. Because it was owned, operated, and run by him. But anyway, if it was the mug or any of the branding here and CloutHub felt a little, left out, CloutHub, there's no need to get pissy about it. You can simply send a vector image. I do have one spot left. Send a mug. I can feature that in a week's worth of videos. That's fine. But yeah, that happened, and no amount of me posting or asking has yielded any kind of positive results. So, hasn't yielded a negative result, just hasn't yielded a positive one either. I have another theory though. I think someone got really, really, really butthurt that I was doing yet another tarot video that I've been doing for months now, and decided to report it for safety. For the safety of everyone. And not that I have anything against them, it's just there are a lot of people on CloutHub that are, they're conservative Christians, and they don't like this kind of thing in their midst. Some are, a lot of them, a greater majority of them are actually pretty cool, and they'll just, it's not my thing, they'll move on. And that's okay, that's cool. But some of them remind me a lot of the evangelicals who became rather, how can I put this, rather hostile when I began playing D&D, listening to metal, and, watching horror movies, and just kind of doing my own thing, because I found out they were lying. They didn't take well to their lie being exposed, let's just put it that way. And that kind of thing can happen. The other thing I wanted to talk about was I want you to take a moment to realize what a miracle you, watching this right now, you actually are. I posted a story to Twitter. It was a thread, and it was my dad who shared the story with me. I called him up on Father's Day. He didn't realize it was Father's Day, and yeah, about a week ago. Yeah, this story blew my mind. But I'll tell you the short version of it. My great grandfather had been shot in the back by a man. Now, this is the late 1800s, early 1900s. He was shot in the back, and it left him a bit disabled. So, at the tender young age of 12, my grandfather was given a Winchester rifle and a revolver, and we're not talking about little 22 pea shooters. We are talking full, dirty, hairy calibers that would, once fired, would nearly take the weapon out of your hand. And every morning, he and my grandfather would go out riding on horses, and he would tell him, "Boy, pull your rifle, shoot the top of that fence post, or pull your pistol and shoot that knot hole in that tree." And of course, my grandfather had to take time to acclimate himself and adjust, and over time he became a better and better shot. And he got to where he could move pretty quickly with these weapons. 6 years later, he bought his first pump action shotgun. Back in those days, they still had a hammer to them. And in those days, you could literally kill a guy, go 50 miles out of town, nobody knew who you were. You could give a phony name, a phony backstory, as long as you could back it up, nobody cared. This is like the period of the Old West. Now, a year after my grandfather purchased that pump action shotgun, there was a knock at the door. A lady let them both know that the man who shot my great grandfather was back in town. He had returned. So my grandfather went to make sure the guy stayed where he was, to see if he was at home first. Make him stay where he was until my great-grandfather got the constable and they would meet him. He would be taken in and taken to trial for it. He had to be very persistent about knocking on the door because nobody was answering, until finally a lady answered, and he introduced himself, stated his business. She claimed he wasn't there, which was false, because after a little while he saw him over her shoulder and saw him move, and he remembered the warning that his father had given him. Don't let him get a beat on you with that rifle, boy. He will kill you. And so it came down to a very quick draw, and with his shotgun, my grandfather dispatched his would-be dispatcher. I want you to just keep that in mind. You'll get the full story on Twitter if you follow me. Everything's in the link tree down below. But the reason I tell you this story is because these are the kinds of conditions that my recent ancestors had to go through. We're talking about, my dad's about in his 70s now. My grandpa died at the age of 98, if I'm not mistaken. And there was my great-grandfather, who I never got to meet. At least I don't think I did. And if I did, I was extremely young. But anyway, conditions in times like that were very brutal. And guess what? Families could be very large back then. Sometimes they kind of had to be. But here's the key thing. I want you to think how brutal some conditions could be even before that. And then before that. And now here you are. You are a product of all of that. All the survival of all those times. Yeah, you're a miracle. And we talked about yesterday Othala, your ancestry, your predecessors, those who came before you. Think of what they had to go through to get there, just so you could be here now. So let's get down to the reading, shall we? I really want that to sink in. Let it sink in. Like, if you have to pause for a minute to really think about it, do it. Go ahead. It's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and get down to the reading. And if you're unpausing right now, great. And Mr. Bub wants to be fed, so... Oh wow, yeah, we're past his feeding time. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Alright, so let's get this thing done, shall we? Starting with you. The 9 worlds. Remember how I said we're gonna think about our ancestry. We're gonna think about all those brutal times they survived and everything else. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen, you are connected to everything else. Every action you take is going to affect something else. And I really want you to keep that in mind, because as you are a product of all the actions that were taken to get you here, so the actions you take have to lead somewhere, and I really need you to be mindful of that this weekend. Also, you are being guided by the Well of Weird, and how fitting that these two go together, because if you look right there at the roots, that's where the Well of Weird is. And the Well of Weird, let's talk about trees and stuff like that for a minute. So Odin, the Allfather, hangs himself from Yggdrasil and swings in the wind for nine nights, staring down into the well, until finally he sees the runes. The rope snaps. He hits the ground, and as he stated, he took up the runes, screaming. Now that's quite a thing. And then Odin states what each of these runes are and what they do and how they work, but he keeps some of those secrets to himself. He doesn't share them all. But it is about your magic, your will, how you handle things, how you do things, what you manifest, what you put forth. That is all gonna matter. So, is it meant to build, or is it meant to completely destroy? And this weekend, that's what you need to consider, because your own magic is what's guiding you right now. Your spirit animal, the otter, you really are never alone. And let me tell you, there was a time when Loki completely changed his shape into that of an otter. He did live with a family of them and almost became lost in that identity. Speaking of identity, think of how different the story would have been had Loki not shifted back into his normal form. If he had just remained saying, well, I am an otter, it's what I do. We probably still would have Balder around, and Ragnarok would just be a story in someone's mind. So while we're thinking on that story, because keep in mind, it's Loki who disguises himself later as an old woman and gets the story and confidence from Frigg that Balder, the only thing that could hurt him was the thorn of mistletoe, and he creates a dart, and he has Balder's blind brother fire that dart at him and kill him. And that sets off the entire chain of events. It's like the Royal Rumble. That's what kicks off the entire road to WrestleMania. And that's exactly what set off the chain of events leading to Ragnarok. So you see how one little action here led to a cosmos-breaking event. So let's look at how you're doing mentally here. We got a Queen of Cups, we've got a Three of Swords, and we got a Four of Coins. So having a little bit of, it's going to be a very emotional time. Right now in your mind, having that, how can I put that, emotional stability, I want to say. See, having those answers, they all do reside within you. You need to trust your intuition more, you know, kind of read the signs and act upon what they're guiding you to do. You need to nurture your dreams and visions, take care of the ones you love, and here's the thing, a kind and compassionate person may be offering solace. So, being that emotionally stable in a sea of just roiling emotions, yep, that could be pretty tricky and difficult, especially if you're not trusting yourself, because while you're not trusting yourself, this is what's happening. This is a load of heartbreak right here. You're going to have to get away from what's killing you, and because the only outcome is you're going to hold on far too tightly to things. That's what the Four of Coins is all about. You're holding on far too tightly to something that just, it's not there anymore. There's almost, in this progression, there's almost a wishing for better days. To be honest, you could be creating newer, better days yourself. And the way I'm looking at it, it looks like the weight of what other people think are weighing on you. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I learned at a very young age, when what you do is not good enough for someone, just don't do anything for them. It's not going to help. That's because one thing always leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and before you know it, you're miserable and wondering exactly what the hell happened to put you in this spot. Running on to the physical, we've got, so I got 8 of Cups in reverse, got an 8 of Swords in reverse, but we have a 6 of Wands. So, 8 of Cups in reverse, this is definitely not moving on. This is stagnation. I don't know why it's like so hard to move on. I know. Well, actually, I should take that back. I do know. It is hard to move on from some things. And it looks like we're relegating ourselves a lot to comfort. Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen the movie Clerks? The main character, Dante, is a shining example of this. He's miserable at his job. He hates it. He can't stand it. But he won't do anything to change it. And he tells a story of a time where as a child, he went to the bathroom, the toilet seat was down, and rather than lift the toilet lid and, do his business, he did it in his pants. And he said the point of the story was that he's not the kind to lift up a lid just so he can shit comfortably. So, as much as he hates that job at the convenience store, he's there because it's familiar to him, and there's a certain comfort in that. Now, in Clerks 2, it's a completely different thing. He's working at a job that he doesn't particularly care for, but he's also thinking that he's making changes in his life, and in the end, he's just kind of doing what's expected of him. And it's no wonder his friend Randall is a little upset with him. But here you go with your Eight of Swords in reverse. Normally the Eight of Swords lets us know that our problems seem bigger than what they really are. All we got to do is wiggle around a little bit and we're good to go. With this one, the great thing about it is we're completely liberated from it. We're choosing. We've made a choice now to move on, to liberate ourselves. This is the warning. This is the good news. So from here, there's a lot of stagnation, but from right here, there's the choice to move on. We're like, you know what? I'm done. I am done. I'm over this shit. Time to move on. And that's when, may take a while, but you're in the winner's circle, baby. The minute you decide to move on, this becomes yours. Complete victory right there. Spiritually speaking, you got a Page of Wands, got a Five of Wands, and we have Death. Now, another card with you moving on to better horizons. Isn't it interesting how we're holding on too tightly here in the mind? We're having a little trouble moving on, but we've decided it. Now we're going to move on to something better. And then the spirit reflects it. If you start with the spirit, well then guess what? All the rest of this will fall into line. The mind is warning you. Don't be dwelling too hard on old times or those things that you know. I've seen this one before where a friend of mine on Twitter said that he no longer cared about Star Wars, that he refuses to watch anything Disney puts out because to him it's kind of like it's part of getting old. You watch your friends and the things you love die. Yeah, that's true. Kind of makes you glad you're not one of those immortals out of Highlander. Can't imagine that existence. But here's the thing. You are going to find yourself defending your positions quite a bit. This is okay. You're going to find yourself in those little sparring sessions, but the death of that thing, whatever it is you're holding on to, whatever it is you're refusing to move from, the death of that comfort means the beginning of your winning cycle here. Now, we got a lot of good news right here in the tarot alone. But remember, this is only a potential outcome. It's not the outcome. This is just insight as to what you can do. We still haven't even hit the oracle or the work your light oracle or the runes yet. So let's have a look at that and see what's going on mentally. You know, and this is right next to that Queen of Cups. Right next to it. You already know what needs to be done. The question is, why are you so afraid of it? Because right now, with everything going on, with you kind of achieving that inner peace of things, and I can say this, I agree with my friend Grumpy Old Grognard on Twitter, who's also a YouTuber, by the way. You should definitely check out his channel. Especially if you're into tabletop role-playing games. Let me tell you, OSR like you read about, That guy embodies old school revival. And let me tell you something. He's actually got some really great ideas. Do I agree with everything he says? No, not really. But I'm telling you right now, huge shout outs to that guy. That guy is pretty awesome. But some of us have actually made peace with the fact that, maybe the new things aren't all that great. Maybe the older things were better. But we've made peace with the fact that maybe things won't change. And so we move on from them. And we stick to what we love the most. And that's really the key part. Is we stick to what we kind of stick to what we love. We're not holding on so tightly to it that we can't let it go. We're letting go of the things that are harming us, and that's really the key part. But yeah, if that's your vibration rising, you need to trust yourself a lot more. Over here in the physical, you can teach others. All the beauty you find, what you're most devoted to, what lights you up from the inside, that is not holding on too tightly, that is us moving on from the things that are killing us. We're not trying to influence everyone else. We will begin to attract people who look at us and say, hey, what do you got over there? What's going on? How can I do that? There will be people that will be very receptive. They will come to you, and as long as they approach it respectfully, it's perfectly okay to teach them. So the next thing, new ways of looking at things. This is for you. This is not for the next person, because this is what did we talk about before? Changing you first. You have to reach that level of inner peace. You have to have that. You have to have that moment where it clicks. You have to have that moment where you're like, okay, I suspect things aren't really going to be doing all that well here, or I'm tired of being the voice of reason for this situation. I think it's time I go. Hey, maybe you're tired of the same person coming to you for advice doing the exact opposite and then coming back to you for more advice that they're never going to take. That's a thing. That happens. And it's okay. It's okay to tell them, hey, you're killing me here. You're fucking killing me. Stop it. I know you're hungry. I will be with you in just a moment. It's fine. I'll tell you what, come here. Come here, you big boy. Come here, bigums. There we go. Now, have a seat. It's going to be just fine. Stop sniffing up. Persistent little fucker, ain't he? Okay. Alright, so let me get the runes out of the way so I can go feed this kid. I missed his feeding time. Anyway, we've got Yera. We have Kanaz. And we have Othala again. I tell you, this is gonna be one of the freakiest readings I've ever done, and it's great. I love it. So, as long as you're ready to move on, as long as you're ready to devote yourself to that which you love the most. And that's the thing, you have to find what you love the most. You're going to be reaping rewards left and right. Wherever the rewards have stopped coming, stop doing them. I'm serious. Stop paying attention to it. Stop dealing with it. Stop giving it the time of day. It will go away. If you want something to go away, just don't buy the damn thing. Eventually there's no market for it. Right? Isn't it interesting how these two cards bookend the physical? Yes, you can teach others, you can enlighten them. But, see, what you really need to move on from, what you're holding on too tightly to, it's not serving you. That's becoming even clearer now. And again, we're capping off with Othala. How else can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? You may have to defend certain things, certain decisions you've made. There is a very, very good chance some of the decisions you've made aren't going to be great. But the good news is that's where you get to look at it and say, okay, yeah, maybe that wasn't so hot. And you get to move on. Those who came before you, the stories of your own ancestors will teach you things about you. I mean, for instance, I learned I'm maybe only like 1 or 2 generations removed from the period of the Wild West. And that's why I'm so hardline about certain things. It was a different time. People were made of a little bit tougher stuff than we are now. Certainly made of tougher stuff than me. Because I'm going to be honest with you. If I were suddenly in my 19-year-old grandfather's shoes, or boots as it were, I'm not entirely sure what I would do. I couldn't tell you that. But you know what? Had he not just been that little bit faster in that time period, you wouldn't be watching this video because I wouldn't be here to film it. And that is something I am thankful for every day. Thankful he was just that little bit faster. He had just that little bit more resolve. Think about some of the things your ancestors went through. Think of that little bit extra they did that day that put you here. The absolute best title and description for this video is that you are a miracle. Starting to get it now? I hope so. Because as I'm fond of telling you, I love you all. I want you to take care of yourselves and each other this weekend. I want you to always do what lights you up and get away from whatever it is that's breaking your heart, ladies and gentlemen. And then I just want you to do one more thing. Shine on. Alright, so just a quick cleanup scene while post-credit scene while I clean up here. And yeah, Bub, I'll get to you, don't worry. I mean, that story about my grandfather and my great-grandfather is pretty intense. And I brought it up because the basic expert, whose YouTube videos you should check out as well. The basic expert, John Torres, one of my most favorite people in the tabletop RPG space, wrote a Wild West game. Very, very rules light. Very small book. You could probably read it in one sitting having coffee. Called Cowpunchers. And Silvia Clemente and Miguel Ribeiro from the Red Room, also on YouTube, and also you should check them out, wrote a game called Wretched Country. Wretched Country is based on Wretched Bastards, which is that's a medieval fantasy game where there are no clear heroes. There's just kind of shades of gray, but I think they do it very well. I really do. And I've read it, and it's good, it's fun, and you have to base one of your characters on the 7 deadly sins. And there's something else I wanted to show. I want to show you this just real quick. I've actually selected the Work Your Light Oracle for this weekend's High Notes card pull. I will be shuffling that in a minute, but right here in the box, on the lid and inside, it says, "You are the Oracle." We had 2 cards that explain that. If you need answers to your most pressing questions, guess what? I hate to say this, but it's probably not going to be me. It's going to be more likely you. You actually already have a lot of your own answers. But anyway, back to Cowpunchers and Wretched Country. I'm actually getting Wretched Country in today. I ordered I didn't order the PDF, I ordered the print copy. I have the PDF and print copy of Cowpunchers. And these games are deadly. And when I say deadly, I mean like deadly for your character. Your character may last 1 session, if that. You know, all depends upon the roll of the dice, literally. You're literally just rolling dice. You're not actually going to die as a player. You could roll up another character and continue playing. But anyway, those games are built to be fast, quick, deadly, because those times were fast, quick, and deadly. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a movie called The Quick and the Dead that I recommend, and that's what I need to get that one myself. I love that movie. Sharon Stone stars in it along with Gene Hackman. It's a great movie. Leo DiCaprio's in it as well, and yeah, it has. If you've never seen it, I do recommend it, along with High Plains Drifter and the Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I do recommend those. Oops, I forgot to put the otter away. Anyway, those movies will never tell you how fast someone could die. Look at today. I mean, those lives could be very violent then. They could, even now they can be very violent. But we really don't. I mean, you see people freaking out about the recent Supreme Court decision. Man, let me tell you something. You have absolutely, positively, if you're one of the ones freaking out about it, you have no idea. Back then, life could be very, very brutal. Not so much now. In fact, a majority of the people who own guns these days have never killed a single person. They probably killed more paper targets than anything. Probably have more in common with Keanu Reeves than, the son of Sam, I'll say. But anyway, through all that brutality, through all those harsh conditions, through all that quick drawing, And I don't care if it's by sword or spear. Through all that quick drawing madness, you have a lot of people to thank for being here. Same as me. And isn't it interesting? So yeah, you may look upon all those times with disdain, but remember, the miraculous happened through all that brutality. You're here. And you want to know something? I'm happy you are. Again, folks, I know it was kind of tangential and little meandering there, but thank goodness you're here. I thank you for being here. The views have been down this week, not gonna lie. We're not getting our usual fare going through, but you know what? I still got you. And for that I'm thankful. So, if I have to throw one other little message in there before I feed this kid right here, let's show a little gratitude to our ancestry. Let's show a little gratitude to the ones who came before us. Alright? Alright. Love you guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. I will see you for the 4th of July weekend too. I'll see you on the 4th of July. I'm not taking a day off from this. You'll find me today painting miniatures. Love you guys. Take care. Until next we see each other. Yeah, I know.